It is with profound honor and great privilege that I extend a very warm welcome to you all to the third Red Sea and Gulf of Aden Dialogue, an initiative spearheaded by the Institute of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia in collaboration with the Ethiopian Defense War College. Your presence here today reaffirms the growing recognition that this region, anchored by the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, occupies in an increasingly pivotal role in global affairs. This convening, now in its third iteration, reflects our collective resolve to foster meaningful engagement, build mutual understanding, and advance a shared vision for regional peace, security, and prosperity. Our institute, as many of you know, is government-affiliated policy and research and training institute, which is dedicated to advancing Ethiopia's foreign policy through rigorous scholarship, strategic dialogues, the ones that we're conducting here today, and conducting practical trainings for Ethiopian diplomats and diplomats from abroad, with the ambition to become a continental leader in the field of training and research. By 2032, the Institute is committed to producing actionable research, empowering foreign policy actors, and serving as a hub for thought leadership in diplomacy, peace, and international cooperation. Excellencies, distinguished guests, the theme of this year's dialogue, called Navigating Horn Gulf Economic and Security Cooperation, Opportunities, Challenges, and Future Directions, encapsulates both the urgency and the opportunity before us. It captures the growing imperative to develop more coordinated, coherent responses to the complex and interrelated dynamics shaping this geostrategic maritime space. The Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden corridor is not merely a conduit of maritime transit. It is a critical geopolitical interface, a theater of economic ambition, and a locus of both strategic vulnerability and opportunities. The stakes could not be higher for the region, for the continent, and indeed for the international community, as transnational threats, unresolved conflicts, and great power rivalries continue to converge into the region. From Ethiopia's perspective, the long-term stability, governance, and accessibility of this corridor are of paramount importance. Ethiopia's pursuit of a guaranteed maritime access is not a passing concern. It is a permanent national imperative driven by the vision of security, economic viability, and regional integration. For too long, Ethiopia has been excluded from the Red Sea security arrangements and forced to rely on limited transit routes. This vulnerability has only deepened as some regional states pursue destabilizing policies. Today, Ethiopia views the Nile River, and the Red Sea as part of its singular, unified strategic landscape. This reflects a deeper shift, indeed, a national security doctrine that links upstream sovereignty with maritime access. It is a move towards integrated, long-term thinking. This shift carries a message for regional and international partners. The challenge is to avoid escalation and help shape a cooperative, inclusive framework that promotes stability and regional integration. The Nile and the Red Sea do not have to be arenas of conflict. With diplomacy and mutual understanding and respect, they can form the basis for a shared, stable, and integrated regional order. And let me be clear, in my opinion, this is not just a government policy. Like the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, this issue commands broad public support and consensus in Ethiopia. It is a national project, deeply embedded in Ethiopia's history and its strategic identity. As a land-linked country with expanding regional and global engagements, Ethiopia has a legitimate interest in contributing to the peace, security, and cooperative management of the maritime domain we collectively depend on. Ethiopia's approach is principled and constructive. As Ethiopia advocates for a regional architecture that is inclusive, transparent, and respectful of sovereign equality. We believe that both littoral and hinterland states must be meaningfully engaged in shaping the governance of this shared space. A resilient Red Sea, Gulf of Aden region requires an ecosystem of cooperation anchored in dialogue, equity, inclusion, and shared responsibility. This dialogue is indeed intended to serve exactly that purpose, to foster understanding, identify convergences, and explore innovative pathways for collective action. Over the course of this conference, we aim to deepen economic and infrastructural integration by assessing the viability, governance of cross-border corridors, maritime logistics, and trade facilitation. Also, to advance cooperative maritime security to address both traditional and emerging threats, including piracy, illicit trafficking, armed conflict, and environmental degradation. To stimulate policy innovation, to interrogate institutional gaps, enhancing diplomatic alignment, and identifying scalable solutions for regional governance.
Welcome you all to the third edition of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden Dialogue. I also want to congratulate the Minister of Foreign Affairs for hosting this timely conference over the last 3 years. It's commendable for think tanks like the Minister of Foreign Affairs to examine and raise awareness about regional issues, bringing together academics, policymakers to discuss this important topic and craft viable solutions for common regional challenges. The Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden are crucial waterways, connect the Horn of Africa and the Middle Eastern states to the international market. The livelihoods of both regions depend on these maritime routes. Historically, there has been significant economic and security cooperation between the Gulf particularly, and the Middle East in general, with the Horn of Africa, dating back to ancient times. Additionally, the Middle East and Horn of Africa share cultural, religious, and ethnic affinities. These commonalities, along with economic and security threats that require mutual attention, are some of the factors bind these regions together. Until the 70s and 80s, both Middle East and the Horn of Africa experienced similar economic conditions and maintained strong economic and security ties. However, since the Cold War, there have been periods during which cooperation between these regions declined, Recently, we witnessed a revival in relations between the Middle East and the Horn of Africa. This renewed connection has the potential to transform economic and security ties between the Middle East and the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia, as part of the Horn, seeks to capitalize on this opportunity and restore connections with all Middle Eastern states. Ethiopia has also recently formalized its pursuit of access to the Red Sea. As an economic and military powerhouse in the region, Ethiopia needs to strategically position itself, enhance its economic ties with the rest of the world, and actively participate in combating piracy, organized armed robbery, violent extremism, and terrorism, which are significant economic and security challenges in both the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The growing Ethiopia's openness to investment, trade, and development has the potential to advance both the Middle East and the Horn of Africa. The country's fast-growing economy has the ability to address the region's development challenges if trade, infrastructure development, connectivity, and corridor projects are utilized. These challenges can be achieved through the creation of robust and inclusive economic and security cooperation. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude my speech, I would like to emphasize one important point. Given that we share common resources, the problems we face in the region are quite similar. These issues can range from petty cross-border crimes such as trafficking to more severe threats like piracy, organized armed robbery, violent extremism, and terrorism. Therefore, addressing these challenges often requires the establishment of strong economic and security cooperation. We recognize that there are few platforms designed for economic and security cooperation between Gulf and the Horn of Africa states. However, many of these platforms have encountered functional challenges due to structural limitations. Some are still struggling to survive, while others have been dissolved before they could even be implemented. This situation highlights the need for dialogue and consultation to develop well-thought-out economic and security cooperation platforms that can effectively address our shared regional threats.